Well, hey there. Good morning, Brickheads. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope your week is going fabulous. You did it. You're halfway through. What do you say we do a wild card Wednesday to help you get through the rest of it? So, hey, before I get into it, I do, as always, like to say thank you. No matter how you're listening into this podcast, whether it's on your favorite podcast platform, or maybe you're a visual person and you just like checking things out on the YouTube page, no matter how you get this episode, I greatly appreciate it. You know, lots of listeners. I've got my usual mainstays here in the States, but around the world is always kind of fun to see. You know, the United Kingdom and Ireland and Norway, Netherlands, Belgium, Australia, y'all always are listening in, and I just greatly appreciate it. But I was looking at the stats lately, love myself some analytics, and I noticed we had some new countries listening in, from Guyana to Austria to, let's see here, some in Denmark, home of the Lego. Isn't that cool? But Lithuania, Portugal, the Philippines. So it's just kind of fun to see people tuning in. That is just always greatly appreciated. And then here in the States, you know, Ohio and California, as always, those are my big listeners. I just always appreciate you. But beyond that, I mean, there's people listening literally all over America, which I think is really cool. From Utah to finally some people up there in North Dakota, to Michigan, to New York, to Tennessee, and a lot of listeners tuning in Illinois. I just think it's cool. So anyway, always like to just say thank you because I appreciate it. You know, couldn't do this podcast if you weren't listening in. But hey, with that, it is a Wild Card Wednesday, and I'm excited because, you know, it's October, and obviously October in Star Wars here in 2025, the big news has been the the Death Star release, the $1,000 giant Death Star diorama, which, love it or hate it, some of you out there absolutely love it, and I respect that you love it. I just am personally not a fan, and I think I've said this before. Longtime listeners will know, mostly I'm not a fan because I just think it's overpriced, honestly, for what we're getting. And granted, yes, it is a high piece count, but the way those pieces were used, to me, it just doesn't feel complete, honestly. It feels like a $650, $750, $800 set max. And so it got me to thinking, what are some great UCS sets that we've had in the past that are just worth the pennies, right? And so I started looking back at my own UCS collection, and I thought, you know, for this Wild Card Wednesday, why don't we take a look at one of my recent favorites, and that is the UCS Razor Crest. Okay, so this is set 75331 because there are multiple versions of the Razor Crest, but there's only one UCS set, and this thing is huge. All right, so it came out. Okay, picture, if you will, we are 2021 and Lego is firing on all cylinders. We've had the Republic gunship, which there was a little controversy behind that, but then later in 2021 we had the gigantic $850 AT-AT set, which was just absurd. People lost their minds for it. It was like, what could Lego do to possibly follow up on that? And they doubled down on what was and what still is, not as much, but the phenomenon that is the Mandalorian. And I don't know about you, but I really, really enjoy The Mandalorian. It's fun. It's a little silly. It's got some good action. I like the acting in it. And just overall, it is a high-quality show, especially the first two seasons. Season 3, definitely not as much. And we'll see with the upcoming movie. But I just figured, hey, it's October. I haven't reviewed a UCS set in a while. This is what a UCS set should look like. And so that's what they did. They came out with the UCS Razor Crest in October of 2022. So this is that big release. So once upon a time, for those of you who don't know this, we pretty much got one UCS set a year. I should mention that. But starting around 2020, maybe a little earlier than that, I can't remember all the sets, but really the fall release became the Ultra UCS set, right? We got the $200 May the 4th UCS set, but then we got the big one. And I really want to say it was like the AT-AT kind of set the pace with that. And so, yeah, fans were pretty excited. The Razor Crest, for those of you that don't know with the Mandalorian, that is the ship that the Mandalorian flies, or flew in the first couple seasons. No spoilers, right? And it's a pretty iconic, pretty cool looking ship. Dave Fieri, like they really outdid themselves with this, honestly. It's got the big two giant impulse engines to the side. The shape of it is interesting, not like Slave One iconic, but just one of those ships that you see it in the Star Wars universe, it's immediately recognizable. Like, I'm going to be real with you. Sometimes I see an A-wing, like, or a B-wing, or a Y-wing, or an X-wing. If you're into Star Wars, you know the difference between those, right? But, when someone says, hey, the Nebulon frigate, or, some of the lesser known ships, especially more non-canon or the lesser known ships, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between them. Like, yeah, an X-wing looks like an X. A Y-wing does look like an I. But have you seen the A-wing? Is it really an A? But I don't know. I look at the Razor Crest and I just think, yes, it's iconic. Immediately iconic. And, you just want to get a piece of it. And in looking at this Lego set specifically, oh man, I kind of like just soaking it in because I don't get it off the top shelf very often because it's huge. I'll give you specs here in just a sec, but just to soak it in. If you're tuning in on the YouTube page, you can see it sitting next to me right now, and just the scope of it is gigantic. So anyway, as I said, with the specs and what I do for these Wildcard Wednesdays, if you're new listening in, this is how it goes. I'll give you some specs, give you some background, give you a little story behind it, and then I'll do a set rating. And when I do set ratings at the end, I do it on 4 main categories. Okay, I do it on playability, displayability, the build experience, and the value. And that kind of lets me know, or lets you know as the listener or viewer, is this set worth your time? Is it worth your money? And here's the deal. This set, while not as expensive as the AT-AT, is still a lot of money. It is 6,187 pieces and retailed for $600. That's right. It is pretty expensive at $600. However, I say that with an asterisk because if you actually look at price per piece, this set clocks in at under 10 cents per piece. And for a Star Wars, for IP sets, that's really, really cheap. Whenever we get under the 10 cent mark, post summer of 2022 price hikes, that's really, really good. And this was one of those first sets that experienced the updated Lego pricing back in 2022. And so really, yes, is it expensive? Absolutely. $600 is not cheap. It's an absurd amount of money for a toy, for a Lego building set, but you can't argue that it is fabulous. For perspective, because I know people are thinking about like how big is this set, right? How truly iconically huge is this? This set measures almost 2.5 feet long. It is 10 inches high, and it is over 1.5 feet wide, or about 3 bananas for you international listeners, because I refuse to use centimeters. Sorry, just saying. Imperial. I'm American. What are you going to do? But yes, I have no idea how long it is in centimeters, but it's about 20 inches wide, about 29 inches long, and about 10 inches high. But that's not the really impressive part. The really impressive part to me, honestly, is how compact and how overwhelmingly heavy it feels. Like, as an example, when you hold the Imperial Star Destroyer, it's so long that you expect it to be really, really heavy, right? But this, even at 2.5 feet long, feels condensed. It feels packed in. And this set weighs almost 18 pounds. And so when you go to pick it up, it's to me, it's always been like shockingly heavy. So, you love to play with it. You love to take it apart. And it's really cool how it's put together because you can actually take off different sections of it strategically to get to the inside. But when you're picking it up completely by itself, it is a whopping 18 pounds and it feels every single ounce of those pounds for sure. For perspective, in case you're wondering out there, fun fact, the heaviest set, anybody want to leave a comment down below? Want to let me know what you think is the heaviest set out there? I'll give you a second. Believe it or not, it's the Titanic set. So not really the biggest set by piece count, but the Titanic is the heaviest set ever created at right over 30 pounds. And so this is only 10 pounds behind. And I know that sounds like a lot by a third, but it is pretty impressive. So getting beyond the set itself, because we're going to talk more about the set in a sec, I want to talk real quick about the minifigs. There are 4 minifigs in this set. 5 if you include a buildable Blurrg. That is the giant animal that the Mandalorian and Kuill, I can never pronounce his name right. That's what they ride on as they're on the planet. I have no idea what episode, but that's the weird looking animal. I don't know what it looks like. I can't even give you a comparison. It's just a funky looking animal, but you get a buildable one of those. But here's the deal. You get the Mandalorian, which his printing is unique to this set. You get the Mythrol, which is the character that he captures there in the very beginning of the Mandalorian. He is also unique to this set. And you get Kuill. I can't ever pronounce his name. Sorry about that. He is also unique to this set. The only minifigure that's actually not unique to this set is the child, or Grogu. That little Grogu, I guess you could consider him a minifigure. It's almost like he's a little micro guy because he's a baby. He actually appears in 11 different sets. So he's not worth very much from a price standpoint. But those other 3 minifigs that you see beside me, each of those on the aftermarket go for about $35 to $40 to even upwards to $50 a piece. So they are pretty valuable because, again, that happens when you get it price locked behind a giant set like this. So, but yeah, and in addition to that, like I say, I really like that there is a buildable Blurrg with this. It just kind of goes really well with this, and it makes for a great display. So you've got the plaque, and then you display everything beside it. You've got Grogu in his little egg capsule. I don't know what you call that. And then you can display everybody beside each other. I personally like displaying my minifigures out so you can see them. I don't really like having them in the set itself because if you have them in the set, you can't show them off. And this Mandalorian with its custom printed, the dual leg, it looks really good and you want to see it out for sure. But I do wish, I will say this, I definitely think it could have come with maybe 1 or 2 more minifigs. Here's the hard part, though. This set coming out in 2022 was pretty early on in the Mandalorian series. So as you get the entrance of Boba Fett or other different leaders, or even Darth what's-his-name from Season 2, I can't remember it off the top of my head, and I did not look it up. Those would have been great characters to also put in, but they really wanted to capture the essence of what the Mandalorian was from that first moment that you saw him. So I'm not super disappointed that there's only 4 minifigs in this set, 5 if you include the animal, but it would have been cool maybe to have like the governor or something like that, an additional 5th or 6th piece. But yeah, they're all unique still, though, so you can't get them anywhere else. Other unique things about this set, let's talk real quick. Everybody always wants to know about the colors and the stickers. So this set, it does have stickers on it. In fact, this is probably the biggest negative of this set, and most sets in general of its type. Pre-2022, a lot of our plaques were still stickers. And if you've ever put a sticker on a Lego plaque, you just go, this is the most nerve-wracking moment of any Lego build, because you've literally just spent $600 on a Lego set, and you have one shot, right? You might as well put on some Eminem in the background, but you get one shot at this where you are, first off, not trying to get fingerprints on the sticker so that you, on the back side of it, so it loses any of its stickum. You are trying to line it up perfectly. You're trying to give the exact spacing. And so it is what we call a pucker moment for sure. I think I did a pretty good job with this one, but can I tell you, anytime we see plaques now that are printed plaques, I breathe such a huge sigh of relief, because sticker plaques are literally the worst sticker plaques. All it takes is you just putting it on wrong a little bit and one little bubble underneath, and then you just kind of question your choices in life. That's all I'm just going to say. And just the additional part of when you have stickers, after a while, the stickers will tend to come off. And in this set, if I remember correctly, there are 17 stickers. Mostly they are yellowed stickers that go on with the paintings, the little markings on the side of the ship itself. But some of these stickers are actually pretty big. So you've got like it's the 6x6 stickers and the plaque stickers that are kind of a pain in the neck. But beyond that, not a huge amount of stickers, not enough to make you go, ugh. Not like your typical Harry Potter sets out there that have an absolute billion stickers. But besides that one little negative, other than that, it is a pretty fantastic build. And it's a pretty solid build too. Like most UCS sets, you have an internal Technic structure, okay? So there are, if I remember correctly, there are 48 bags in this set. Let's see, I can look it up. 36 numbered bags, 48 total. And the first, I want to say quarter of this build is almost just Technic structure, because the biggest part of this set is building these two engines on the side, because these engines are absolutely huge. And I really like what the designers did here, because the engines themselves, I'm going to turn the ship so we can see the front of it, but I'm definitely not going to pick it up because it's going to make a heck of a lot of noise if I do. The engines themselves are actually connected to each other, okay? So they are on opposite ends of the ship, obviously, right? But there is a giant Lego Technic structure underneath the greebling and the outside gray pieces that you see. So from a display standpoint, you just think that the engines are a part of the ship. But when you actually go to pick it up, the engines come off in one giant piece, which to me makes a lot of sense, because sagging, if they hadn't have done that, sagging would have been a huge, huge issue. So for the designers to understand and see that, I just think was really good. Beyond that, like I say, the whole back end is honestly shockingly long, as you can open the back part and then go in through the interiors. I'm going to try and put up some pictures of the interiors so you can see that, because, I'm not going to take it apart here on camera, and it just wouldn't do it justice anyway. But the interiors, they're pretty good. They're not incredible, but you do get your little carbonite people that the Mandalorian has captured for bounty. You get a pretty nice looking cockpit. You've got the closet little area that has all of his weapons and everything. So it is a basic interior. And what I would say is, it's still, even if it's lacking at all, it's still to minifig scale, which I think is really impressive. And part of the reason it is a 6,187 piece set. If you're going to build a ship around a minifigure and make it minifigure scale, the ship is it's going to be huge. So it just works really well. The other parts of it, the angles to this ship, I think Lego did a phenomenal job. So you do have some openings, like this just happens, right? Lego is a square brick, and when you use various angles, bricks up against each other, you're going to get some gaps in between where those angles come together. But I really think it is to a minimum, and it's not noticeable enough like you'd see on the earlier UCS sets where there are just really huge gaps that you just kind of have to ignore. Overall, they did a really good job with this set and hiding most of the gaps. And that's with all of the unique angles that make this ship come together. I also believe that this cockpit windscreen, I believe that is unique to this set. I can't remember, but it just, like I say, also looks really good. Let's see. Besides that, I mean, that's the ship, you know. Remember, when you were looking at this, this is a set from 2022. And if you want to get your hands on it, you still can. You can actually go to lego.com right now and add it to your bag. It's available today. If you want it, though, I definitely recommend getting your hands on it soon, because here's the deal. We believe, if rumors are to be true, and it probably is, this is not long for this world, okay? So it is slated for retirement here at the end of 2025. So this is your last shot. You're probably not even going to find it on a good deal. You're probably going to end up spending $600 on this set, or slightly under on the aftermarket, if you will. And I would imagine it's not going to have a huge price hike, but it is definitely going to go up in price. So if you've been sitting on your hands for the last 3 years, shame on you. But this set is getting ready to retire. You've got just a couple months left where you can still get your hands on it. But you can, again, go to lego.com and buy it right now. All right, but that's the Razor Crest. As I said, before we end any set review episode, I do like to give you my rating system. And as I said, it was playability, displayability, the build experience, the value. So first off, playability. It's an 18-pound set. You know, UCS sets are not designed to have play first. They're designed to have display first. But having said that, this set, you know, you can take it apart. You can actually play with the interiors, load the Mandalorian into the cockpit, and certainly fly it around. It'll give you a good workout for sure. But my daughters are not just picking this up and flying it around, because they're just like, oh my gosh, this weighs a ton, you know. So for playability, and I'm going to put an asterisk on this, for UCS purposes, not normal playability, but UCS playability, I am going to give it an 8 out of 10, which may be a hint generous, but there are other UCS sets out there that you just can't play with at all. I'm just putting it out there. Displayability. Obviously, again, it's a UCS set. That is where UCS sets shine, and the set is as iconic as the ship itself. 10 out of 10, absolutely. Even with the grayscale, because, you know, it's Star Wars, so everything's out of gray. It's gorgeous. The yellows on there, although they are stickers, not all of them are, but even though most of them are stickers, you do have a little bit of variation, and then just the ship's shape makes it a gorgeous looking set, and one that is very impressive. One that people, you know, when they're looking around at this collection, when their eyes catch it, it is a showstopper for sure. A crown jewel for anybody. So displayability, no-brainer, 10. Build experience. It has been arguably a few years since I've built this set, but I remember just enjoying the technological wonder that was this design. I kept going, wow, I love that they decided to do this, or, oh, how did they make it so this angle worked? And it all came together really nice and was just a super enjoyable build. Like I said with the engines, I'm just like, oh, that's so smart. And then it comes together really nicely and sits on top. It kind of feels like it locks in place. It's a great build. And is it a perfect build? No. But is it pretty darn close? Is it almost everything you'd ever want in a Star Wars build? Absolutely. So for that, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Almost perfect. We'll just leave it at that. And then value. Okay, value is interesting because we live in the world of 2025 where the average price per piece on any set anymore, we've really moved from 10 to 11 cents. And when we're talking IP themes, such as like Star Wars, Harry Potter, etc., 12 cents per piece is more of a norm. And so to get a set that comes in, even at $600, to get a set that comes in at under 10 cents per piece is pretty impressive. Now, granted, again, as I've said, it's still expensive. It is still hugely expensive, but it's over 6,000 Lego pieces, y'all. So at value, I am actually going to give it an 8.5. You just don't find things at this value anymore here in 2025. So if you're keeping track at home, we average all these together, that's going to give us a 9 out of 10. And that's right. And I think it's a very strong and well-deserved 9 out of 10. For me, this is so much better than Jabba's sail barge. It is so much better than the Death Star, the new one. I would put it on par with the AT-AT or even the UCS Venator. Okay, it's really high up there on my list, and I just love everything about it. And like I said, if you want to get your hands on it, you got a couple months left. So anyway, you leave me a comment down below. Let me know, is this set up on your list? Was this one of those hard passes? Like for me, when I saw Jabba's sail barge, I was like, okay, I don't have to buy that. Shoo, I'm saving $500. But when I saw this set, I knew I needed to have it. So leave me a comment. Was that the same for you? Or are you just like, no, just another giant UCS gray Star Wars ship that I can certainly be without? I mean, that's my wife's opinion on it. So, but anyway, with that, I really appreciate you coming along on this. It's like I say, October. So I couldn't go in October without at least doing one UCS set review for Star Wars. So, just there you go. With that, I'm going to catch you later. Make sure if you enjoy this stuff, I do episodes every Monday and Wednesday. This coming Monday, we are going to dig in a little deeper with, the BrickLink Designer Series, as well as some more crazy news and rumors, because they're happening every week, y'all. So until Monday, I'll have to catch you then, okay? Have a great one. Enjoy your week. Bye.